Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to The Numbers Don't Lie, the show where we take the tried and true friendo math, going in raw math, and we use it, we apply it to wrestlers' careers to find out what number they are.
Yeah. We put math behind wrestlers' careers because here's the thing.
Yeah.
You can argue about opinions
All day long.
You can argue. It's subjective.
Right. Till you're
Math ain't subjective.
Till you're red in the face. Math never gets red in the face. Math is chill, it's cool, and it's correct.
Yes.
Right.
Unassailable.
Yeah, I don't know what that word means, but I agree with it because I trust you. And I trust the friendos because they've submitted their scores to The Numbers Don't Lie. This week, we're looking at the career of the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. That's right.
You think he's cute. He knows he's sexy.
Right. He's got the look.
Drives the girls wild.
That's right. So we're going to be looking at Shawn Michaels today. Larson, can you please explain to the friendos what going in raw math is? How do we apply this formula to these wrestlers?
Sure, most certainly. So there's three categories in going in raw math. There's being good, which consists of three subcategories, which are in-ring, promo, presentation. Then there's kayfabe, in-ring accomplishments.
Correct.
And then lastly, legacy.
Yeah.
What kind of impact they left behind after their careers have come to an end?
Correct.
Have they crossed over into the mainstream?
Yeah. Let's go ahead. It's funny. Somebody in the comments last week were like, you guys used the word kayfabe wrong. Listen, we know that. We're just saying that their accomplishments, which are part of the kayfabe universe of wrestling. We use it's a very loosely used term. Anyways.
It applies still, I think.
You know what we're talking about.
Anyways.
We're wrestling experts.
Well, we have a wrestling podcast. Let's kick things off, as we always do, with Shawn Michaels in ring. Steve, what'd you give Shawn Michaels in ring?
Gotta give this guy a 10. I don't know how many times I've heard from person after person, wrestler after wrestler, friendo after friendo, that this guy right here also says it, that Shawn Michaels is one of, if not maybe the greatest in-ring technician or in-ring performer, rather, of all time. I'm not going to disagree with that. I gave Bret Hart a 10. I'm giving Shawn Michaels a 10.
See, I gave Bret a 9. I gave Shawn a 10 because Shawn could basically get a good match out of anybody. He got like a 3.5-star match out of Sid.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a damn feat.
It is.
It is an impressive feat. You watch it, some of the classics that Shawn has had, both, during both phases of his career. His initial run, man, his match against Mankind and Mind Games is so damn good.
So good.
It's so damn good.
So good.
And you can make the argument that he was an even better in-ring performer after he retired and came back.
Yeah.
You look at the series of matches he had against The Undertaker at WrestleMania, the matches he had against Triple H. There's just so many matches against Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. Spectacular.
I was there for that one.
Do you remember it?
I have a really bad memory.
Yeah.
COVID.
Anyways, so Shawn Michaels, without a doubt, one of the best in-ring performers in the history of the great sport of professional wrestling. I know I might be somewhat biased because he is maybe my favorite wrestler ever.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, objectively, he's a 10 wrestler.
Absolutely. What did the friendos give Shawn Michaels for his in-ring abilities?
Friendos gave him a 9.37.
Wow, that's a bit of a ball drop there.
Well, it's pretty close to a 10.
It's like 0.7 away from a 10. Anyways, let's move on. Let's move on from that ball drop.
All right, next up, promo.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of respects, I feel like Shawn Michaels is a bit underappreciated when it comes to his promo and character work.
Sure.
Again, especially as he got further into his career. Like, you look at his performance, I'm going to mention this match a lot because it's maybe my favorite match ever. His performance alone in the end of an era match in terms of character work.
Yeah.
Portraying like the breadth of emotions, not breadth of emotions he's going through during the course of that match. I know it's not strictly promo stuff, but it really speaks to his character work. Maybe I could have gone higher. I gave him a 7.5 promo. Latter half of his career, he was a really good promo. I guess I just kind of landed on 7.5.
Yeah, I gave him a 7.5 also. I mean, I agree with everything you said. I think that, like, Shawn Michaels was at his best on the mic when he was simply being himself, having fun. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he had a lot of, like, range or could, like, I don't know, bring... I just feel like he was best when he was himself.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm not sure that really necessarily translated to could he bring the big dramatic promo in the moment where it was really needed.
Yeah.
I don't know about all that. But when Vince McMahon just said, you know what? You're with your friends in DX. Go ahead and be gross and lewd and vulgar because we know that's kind of what you're like anyways. Just go ahead and do that. He excelled at that.
Yeah.
Anything beyond that is probably asking too much. I've got my Lost My Smile promo is just kind of cringy because he went out there and he was just politicking with McMahon. Beyond his DX age, and I know later on when he came back for a second run, he was genuine on the mic. He knew how to talk on the mic. He could effectively communicate what was going on the mic, but it wasn't ever anything like overly special. So I gave him a 7.5 as well.
All right, Friendo's gave him an 8.08, just a little bit higher.
All right, that's good.
A little bit higher.
That makes up for their ball drop on the in-ring stuff.
I guess so. Let's talk presentation. He's got one of the most iconic theme songs in the history of wrestling.
That is true.
And he sings it himself.
He does sing it himself. I know you always give more points for that.
I will give. There's a point bonus for. I mean, not a full point, but at least a partial point bonus if you sing your own theme, and it turns out to be an iconic theme. The DX branding, iconic as well.
Really cool.
DX theme song, iconic.
Yeah.
I always really liked when he had his pants with the Heartbreak Kid pattern all over it, and the variety, the various variations.
Yeah.
Color schemes. When they had the DX version, it had the X's through them.
Did you knock him for the doo-doo brown cloth pants?
That was just a one-time deal, so no.
Oh wow, I did.
If that was a common feature of his gear, then maybe. But in this instance, no. I gave him an 8 for presentation.
I gave him an 8 for presentation too. Yeah, here's the thing about Shawn Michaels is that number one, there were some elements that were very male strippery in some of his early presentation, and like it just was like, I don't know, what is this guy doing out there? But beyond that, I thought that he was that look that he sort of brought to the table was very influential down the line because it became sort of the modern like default creator wrestler that like Edge would use, Chris Jericho would use, like a ton of people would use after him. And so, in that respect, it's influential, but it's also like not overly like, I don't know, amazing. There were really cool design elements at certain points. Yeah. I think one of his SummerSlam matches, he had like this really awesome blue and white scheme that looked absolutely amazing. But at the end of the day, it's just tights with some cool designs with
a cool logo.
Right. But no, I think 8's good. And you're right. His song is iconic. The DX theme is iconic. So I think 8's probably a pretty decent score.
Yeah, I think 8's pretty fair. Friendos gave him a 9.04 for presentation.
Wow. Maybe we're dropping the ball here.
Could be. Let's talk kayfabe, Steve. What'd you give the Heartbreak Kid for kayfabe?
He was one of the all-time politickers backstage. But Hulk Hogan is your 10.
Yeah.
Because he was the all-time politicker. And nowhere did this play out any better than at SummerSlam 2005 when Shawn Michaels, upset perhaps that Hulk Hogan was not going to give him the 3-match deal where Shawn Michaels would get 1 win over him, went out of his way and made kind of a mockery out of some of this match. In the end, Hulk Hogan is a 10. Shawn Michaels was a 9. I gave him a 9.
Yeah, I gave Shawn Michaels a 9 for kayfabe as well. He didn't win as many championships as Bret Hart or Hogan for that matter, but he was amongst the list of all-time politickers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there was a point where Vince was trying to make him the guy.
Yeah.
Vince made the effort to make him the guy.
Yeah.
And, you can argue about whether that succeeded or not, but there was an attempt made, and that's a huge thing as far as kayfabe. Are you going to be the man in the company? And there was an effort made with Shawn.
The mid-'90s were sort of like a war between Bret and Shawn as to who's going to be the guy.
Yeah.
While Vince was looking for the real guy, these guys were trying to figure out, okay, we know Vince isn't really going to make us the guy, but we're going to be the guy who's behind, who's while Vince is looking for that.
Oh, Shawn Michaels tried like heck to make sure that Vince made him the guy, though.
He did. And it's like Vince was always looking for his other Hulk Hogan, but in the meantime, he was cool rolling with Brett and Shawn as the guy. But we all know it was because Sid didn't work out, Luger didn't work out. You know, he probably, at some point, I know, like, maybe he wanted it to be Nash or Yokozuna.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even give those guys 10s.
No. No.
But yeah, no, he did everything he could. He was a great politicker. He's still, you know, in control of the future of the WWE, running NXT right now.
Yes.
So no, I gave him a 9. He was the guy when there wasn't a guy.
Yeah. Friendo's gave him an 8.77 for kayfabe, so not too far.
That's pretty much not too far
from us. Let's talk legacy, Steve. You go ahead and go first.
Man, any way you cut it, this guy's a 10 when it comes to legacy. I mean, he did main event several WrestleManias.
Mm-hmm.
He is running NXT right now.
Mm-hmm.
He is known. He's probably one of the most influential wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at AEW today, I don't believe AEW would exist if Shawn Michaels hadn't come around, because the Young Bucks completely take from him. That's obvious. Kenny Omega, I would imagine, I've never heard him say this, but I imagine he's probably strongly influenced by Shawn Michaels. If he wasn't, that'd be kind of shocking. So many wrestlers from today, whether you like it or not, were influenced by Shawn Michaels. His influence in wrestling can be found everywhere. And that includes the future of the biggest company on the planet right now, WWE. He's leading up NXT. And by the way, he does a killer job with the booking there. I really like what he does there.
Same.
And how he uses that roster. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know there's any way you can cut it besides him being an absolute 10 when it comes to the legacy in pro wrestling.
It pains me to say this because, as mentioned, Shawn Michaels is one of, if not my favorite wrestlers ever. There's one thing lacking from his career that I can't give him a full 10 for legacy, and that he never had the crossover mainstream appeal. He never did the movies. He never did the I mean, he was on one episode of Pacific Blue.
Oh, yeah, but it was a classic gif.
It is. I understand the sunglasses off. I understand that. But
and bringing up the
binoculars, I know.
Yeah.
But that was a late night show on USA. It wasn't a primetime miniseries like Lonesome Dove that Bret Hart was in. It wasn't the Sunday night juggernaut that was The Simpsons that Bret was in.
True.
So that's the one aspect of Shawn Michaels' kind of career overall that kind of falls behind Bret. And I said last week, or last episode we did, I was a little too generous with my legacy scores last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think last time I gave Shawn 10. I'm knocking it down to a 9 here just because he never, as great as he is and as influential as he is in the world of pro wrestling, his influence never really extended beyond the world of pro wrestling.
I would counter with this, and I can appreciate that you're being very, discerning and very particular about like your 10s that you're giving out.
Yeah.
My only counter would be this, and I understand that legacy includes mainstream crossover appeal. However, in my opinion, if you are so influential in the world of pro wrestling and you never really endeavored beyond a random episode of Pacific Blue to journey out to the mainstream, if your sole contribution is, I'm going to do everything I can to build my legacy within the world of pro wrestling, and you do that better than almost anybody else, I'm willing to overlook or just understand that going to the mainstream, like what The Rock didn't do influencing the greater good of pro wrestling, he definitely did in the mainstream. That's why his legacy would totally be a 10 as well.
Yeah, most likely.
Because he went out there. In my opinion, that score you can replace, if you never did the mainstream stuff, you can replace that with how influential were you within pro wrestling.
And I understand that completely.
I don't know there's anybody else who transcends the way Shawn Michaels did.
I understand that completely, and I did consider that as well in the end. Just landed on 9. I don't want people to say, oh, he's your favorite wrestler. You're biased. Oh, wow, you're going to give him inflated scores. So.
All right. Well, fair enough. What did the Friendos give him for legacy?
9.44 for legacy.
All right. Right there in the middle of us. Okay.
Yes, indeed. All right. Are we? Oh, sorry. No, that was the wrong one. 9.31.
Okay. All right.
Sorry. So, are you ready for final scores? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're on top. We're on final score now.
Final score now. So here we go. Final for being good.
His final being good score.
8.61.
That's pretty good.
It's very good.
Very good.
It's the best we've had so far.
Very good. Adam too.
Yeah, I know.
Good.
In fact, he's got the best scores of anybody so far. Kayfabe.
Yeah.
8.92.
Okay. All right. That's really good.
That is very good. Exceptional.
Everybody thinks he's the guy, but not quite the guy.
Exactly. Legacy. 9.81. 9.44.
Wow. High legacy.
So my 9 in legacy didn't hurt him too bad. So his final score, Shawn Michaels' final score. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Wow.
Shawn Michaels is a 8.99.
Wow. This close to being a 9.
If I give him a 10 for legacy, he'd be at 9.
That's a huge score.
It's a massive
Huge score.
Massive.
How about we do this for next week for our patrons at patreon.com/Stephen Larson, for our channel members over there at the podcast channel, youtube.com/Stephen Larson. What if we put the next one up to a vote?
Okay.
Let's say, let's go to the, how about this? We've taken a look at the excellence of execution. We've taken a look at maybe the best in-ring performer of all time. Let's go to the other side of things. Let's do Scott Steiner and Sid.
Oh, wow. All right.
Let's have the people vote on Big Bad Booty Daddy and the ruler of the world.
Yeah, that sounds
Sid.
good.
You like that?
I'll never argue against Sid.
All right, you guys get to vote on that. So all you got to do is head over to patreon.com/Stephen Larson. $5 a month and up makes you a Friendo Club member, and we'll have that vote up for you very, very shortly. And also, if you're over at at youtube.com/Stephen Larson, click join to become a channel member. You also get access to bonus episodes, QA threads, and of course, our huge predictions challenges every single month. Take a look at take a look at this Bret Hart video. Put the Bret Hart one right here. You can take a look at that. Hit that sub button. Hit that thumbs up. We'll see you around.
Goodbye.